Kourtney Kardashian had reportedly proposed a multi-million-dollar deal to her ex, Scott Disick, to keep his distance from their children. Hi, before we continue, please subscribe to the channel for all Kardashians news and update. Kourtney Kardashian and Scott Disick have had one of the most followed and complex relationships in reality television. Their connection, which began years ago and resulted in 3 children together, has been both deeply emotional and often difficult. While they've managed to co-parent Mason, Penelope, and Reign over the years, things have taken a turn recently, especially with new reports surfacing about behind-the-scenes issues. The most shocking development comes from a former Kardashian bodyguard, Behar, who claims Kourtney once offered Scott a large amount of money to keep away from their kids. According to Behar, this wasn't just a small disagreement between 2 exes. He says Kourtney, along with her mother Kris Jenner and sister Khloe Kardashian, allegedly pressured Scott to give up his role in the children's lives. The supposed offer was that Scott would be paid millions of dollars if he agreed to sign papers that would take away his rights to see Mason, Penelope, and Reign. This claim has shocked many, especially considering how public the Kardashian family has always been about wanting to stay close and united, even after breakups. The timing of all this is also important. These accusations started coming to light around the same time Kourtney began a new chapter in her life with musician Travis Barker. Once Travis entered the picture, Scott's role began to feel less significant. While Scott and Kourtney had already broken up years before, the emotional bond they shared because of their children kept them in each other's lives. But Travis's presence added a new dynamic that made Scott feel pushed out. According to people close to him, Scott began to feel more and more like an outsider, not just in Kourtney's life but in the entire Kardashian family. Behar, who worked closely with the Kardashians for several years, claimed in an interview that Scott was being squeezed out of the family's inner circle. He explained that Scott told him Kris and Khloe were trying to distance him from family events and appearances. Behar even said that Scott felt like they wanted him completely out of the picture and that money was being used as a way to try and make that happen. According to Behar, Scott was offered a huge financial deal in exchange for giving up his rights to spend time with his kids. But Scott didn't go along with it. Behar said Scott refused to take the money and was extremely upset about the idea. He said Scott came to him for advice, saying there was no way he would ever agree to something like that. Behar described Scott's reaction as strong and emotional, with Scott reportedly saying no in a very clear way. It seems that, despite whatever issues he might have had with Kourtney or the Kardashian family, he wasn't willing to walk away from his children. Scott's emotional struggle has become more visible since Kourtney and Travis's relationship became serious. One of the hardest moments for Scott reportedly came when he wasn't invited to their wedding. Even though he and Kourtney had moved on from each other romantically, not being part of that big family event deeply hurt him. According to someone who spoke with People magazine, Scott found it very difficult to accept. While he had always known Kourtney would move on, actually seeing it happen, and being left out of a major milestone, was tough for him to process. The source said Scott had always felt welcomed by the family, even during his lowest moments, so being excluded from the wedding made him feel like an outsider. It brought up deeper worries he had about his place in the Kardashian circle and about how his role as a father might be affected. He began to fear that with Travis now stepping in as a partner and future stepfather, he might be slowly pushed aside. The sadness and confusion were hard to ignore, and friends close to him said he wasn't handling the situation well at all. Despite all of this, Scott has continued to stay present in his children's lives. He often shares sweet and joyful moments with Mason, Penelope, and Reign on social media. These posts show him taking them out, spending quality time, and showing that he remains an involved and loving parent. No matter what is happening between the adults, his bond with his kids has stayed strong. It's clear that, for Scott, being a father is something he takes seriously, and he's not willing to give that up for anything, not even millions of dollars. This situation brings up a larger discussion about how families deal with change after a breakup, especially when new partners come into the picture. It also raises questions about what it means to be part of a blended family and how boundaries should be set. In this case, the addition of Travis Barker has shifted the balance, and Scott has had to find his place all over again. It's not unusual for people in his position to feel lost or forgotten, especially when the other parent moves on and creates a new home life. It's important to note that while these claims are serious, they haven't been officially confirmed by Kourtney, Kris, or Khloe. The only source is Mark Behar, and while he worked closely with the family in the past, it's hard to know what parts of the story are fully accurate. Still, the fact that the topic is being talked about so much shows how complicated and emotional co-parenting can be when both fame and feelings are involved. When a breakup involves children, the stakes are much higher, and decisions can't just be made based on new relationships or public image. Scott's refusal to accept any deal to walk away from his kids shows how deeply he values his role as a father. Despite everything that has happened, he continues to show up for his children and to be part of their lives in meaningful ways. Whether he's taking them on trips, attending their school events, or simply spending time with them at home, he shows that parenting doesn't stop just because the romantic relationship is over. Kourtney, for her part, has also always shown that she cares deeply for her kids. While her relationship with Scott may not have worked out, she has always made it clear that her children are her top priority. The fact that she has started a new family life with Travis doesn't change that. But balancing new love and past responsibilities is never easy. When someone new comes into a parent's life, it can bring challenges, especially if the other parent feels like they are being pushed away. This kind of family drama, especially with such well-known people, always gets a lot of attention. But behind the headlines and rumors, there are real people dealing with real emotions. For Scott, it seems the pain of feeling excluded is still fresh. And for Kourtney, she's likely trying to find the best way to move forward while keeping her children happy and protected. It's not a simple situation, and it's not something that can be fixed overnight. No matter what happens next, it's clear that Scott is not going anywhere when it comes to being a father. He has stood firm, refused to give up his rights, and made it known that he wants to be present in his children's lives. Whether he feels accepted by the Kardashian family or not, he continues to do what he believes is best for Mason, Penelope, and Reign. In the end, this story is not just about money, fame, or even personal disagreements. It's about what happens when two people who once shared a life must now figure out how to raise their children separately but still together in some way. It's about how love can change, but responsibilities remain. And it's a reminder that, even in the world of celebrities, parenting is full of challenges, emotions, and hard decisions. This situation brings up a larger discussion about how families deal with change after a breakup, especially when new partners come into the picture. Thanks for watching. Please do well to share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more Kardashian updates.